You don't need to be a voice for the voiceless, just pass the mic. And that's a sentence that I use to justify all of the activist work that I do. I think our focus should never be, we don't need to speak for young people. We don't need to speak necessarily for these different groups. We need to create a situation and an environment in which they can speak for themselves and be heard. And of course that does entail obviously advocacy on our end, but no one is asking us to speak for them. We just need to bring them up with us. And that means like leadership positions, finding internship positions, on campaigns, or through your civic engagement efforts, maybe bringing some students on in your voting guide efforts in the future would be a great opportunity, especially because political science majors up here are very isolated from real world experience because we're so far away from really any political hub, in terms of the state. Like obviously we're so far from Boise. They don't get to take a lot of lobbying trips. Like they don't get to work on a ton of campaigns. So making that accessible to them as well. In terms of a legislative agenda, there are some things on my radar going into this next legislative session. The student government does have a lobbyist who goes down to Boise in the spring, and so we'll be preparing her with some advocacy points. Like one, for example, that we're thinking of is advocating for a shift in timeline of the Opportunity Scholarship so that we're like staggering it forward a year essentially and making it so students can know about their financial aid awards in like November for the coming like fall if they're enrolling, whereas currently they find out by around like April or May when they've already made their decision. So it's like things like that we're planning on advocating for, and the legislative report cards will happen year to year.
What are your thoughts about the ASUI leadership next year, starting in fall 2019, continuing or expanding this type of engagement?
Yeah, I am making it, I'm going to make it, bye David, I'm going to make it very impossible for them to stop doing these projects. I've built them in, so I have a cabinet of 17 people that I manage that have a variety of different positions, from my lobbyist to my director of policy, health and wellness, safety and violence prevention, around 17 different positions like that. And I've already embedded the party to the polls and the legislative report card within those positions that we're already needing more to do throughout the year. So I just found some little nooks within the work we already do. And the funding, obviously we have our own allocations budgets. Party to the polls, actually, we partnered with a national effort called Vote Together, which was under Civic Nation. And so they gave us a grant to help with our event as well. So that's been our focus the whole year. We don't want this to be like a one-year leave your legacy kind of thing. Yeah.
About 15 years ago, an organization was founded in Moscow called Moscow Civic Association, and it did a lot of student outreach and engagement. So first of all, congratulations and thank you for your outreach and your initiative. But MCA endeavored to get out the vote efforts, to help students register to vote. We did shuttles to the polls, all of those things. But a stumbling block then, and I don't know if it still exists now, was that there was a campus policy that disallowed candidates from campaigning directly to students.
Yeah.
Now, we could, by invitation, present to student living groups or clubs or something like that. But as far as distributing literature on campus, that one-on-one communication was disallowed. And I think that maybe, it was time, place, and manner as a limitation. And so I'm hoping that's not the case anymore. But that might be an initiative for you to pursue.
No, thank you. That's good to know. I have heard some things. I'm not sure, unless maybe it's still like a partial policy and maybe they're a little lenient. I do know, I remember Butch Otter coming to campus and doing a meet and greet in the rotunda. And I think I know David tabled one day. I hear scattered things, of course, but so I have heard of candidates being on campus in limited amounts.
Right. And I would say your peer-to-peer outreach is probably far more effective than anything outside groups.
Yes, that's true. I do think the university administration-wise does create some barriers, though. I've heard in the past, and I'm not sure who is the issue or anything, but I have heard in the past they've been resistant to outside nonpartisan groups trying to bring them into their voter registration efforts. So I don't think this is just the community's fault. I think the university creates barriers for that as well. So thank you. That is really good information for me to have.
this is a very old-fashioned suggestion, but the Argonaut is not a bad paper. And I was wondering if you wanted to, particularly in terms of voting issues, legislative issues, funding issues, wanted to have like once a week and have it boxed or whatever else in the Argonaut, and also contact the Daily News, which also prints the Argonaut,
Yeah.
and ask them if they would like to have one that would, in a way, share. I mean, yes, you're on that end of town and I'm on this end of town, but that doesn't mean we don't have concerns
Mhm.
in common.
Yeah.
And to improve the communication between town and gown.
Yeah.
And as I said, I realize print is now, quote, out of fashion. I also know what the circulation is of both the Argonaut and the Daily News.
Yeah.
So there's still bunches of people out there that get their news or their information from
Yeah.
their paper.
So you're suggesting putting like voting information, or what is the?
Whatever, it's an issue, for instance, a mutual issue, I mean, I can't think of one offhand. Oh, yes, I can, the Proposition 2,
Oh, yeah.
because there's an awful lot of students who are going to be, we hope, helped by that.
Yeah.
But in other words, has the ASUI taken a position? Why are you supporting it? You know, what do you think should be, whatever it is. I mean, each week you could pick either something of substance or reminding people that it's when early voting is. I mean, it could be a wide variety of stuff
Yeah.
that comes up. And then, of course, once the legislature starts, but if people got used to looking for that box,
Yeah.
with a vandal, I don't know, whatever, a rose, whatever you want to talk about, but got used to looking
Yeah.
for,
So something
like they look for the weather forecast.
Yeah, like a dedicated political reporter on the paper,
Yeah,
and maybe a poli-sci student
Yeah.
who also had creative writing skills or professional writing skills. That might be a real nice read or something
Yeah.
like that.
We do have a reporter from the Argonaut who does report on ASUI issues, and when we do make like a central message, they're really good at covering it most of the time. There are some things, like Proposition 2, we had an ASUI senator help like put on like a forum for Proposition 2, but we weren't like as a body like endorsing it necessarily, because we didn't want like our nonpartisan efforts like Party to the Polls to be affected because of that.
oh, one example is the Daily News. I mean, I know people who get the Daily News, the first thing they do is open it, and they check things to do and the weather report. They may not get to anything else in the newspaper that day. And so if you develop that habit,
Yeah. Oh, I'm texting Scott and Garrett all the time. Yeah, no, and honestly, anything comes up, I'm like, can I call you in a few minutes? And most of the time they don't. They're like, Nicole, stop. And they don't always cover like what I talked to them about. But I do make an effort to do that, and I think that should be a continued effort. Definitely.
but not necessarily presented as news,
Yeah.
but that thing people begin to look for. What's happening now?
Yeah. that
Did we
consistency.
do something?
Yeah.
What's coming up? Whatever.
We do that on our social media a little bit more consistently. Like I have my own Twitter as president as well, and so some of them have started learning like that's where to go for those things. But I definitely think we could do some more cohesion.
Good luck.
And the Methodists tell us that's 1 o'clock. Now, I assume that maybe you have 1 or 2 more minutes if anybody has any last
Oh,
minute
yeah,
questions,
yeah.
or you can come up to Nicole at the end. I'm gonna let the last word go though to Henry Ann. You've been so
She was
nice.
waiting.
Uh-oh, what did Ann do?
I just appreciate Nicole so much and the effort that she and her people have done to get the vote out. They've just done an amazing job. But I do want to let the league know that we did write the Argonaut a couple of letters. They never printed my letter to the editor months before that told students where they needed to go to get registered, and that we had the information for their county clerk. We did reach out to your office and ask for poll workers.
Who did you reach out to? Like the
We,
staff?
at the civic engagement,
Oh, okay.
we have networked with you guys before, and so we were getting our information out to you. We opened a Facebook page for election. We were at the Palooza Fest registering
Yeah.
voters. We were at the Fin Fest registering voters.
Yeah.
We were at the Student Union Building 2 different days registering voters. And so we have tried to reach out to students and inform them, and so we'll continue to do that, but you have really opened the door that I think maybe they'll print one of my letters to the editor or something. That would be great. Because on that, we try and put all those links for, here's how to get in touch with the Secretary of State. Here's how to find out where you're now registered. Are you registered at the right address so that you don't have the last day standing in a long line? So we'll continue to try to improve what we do, and we appreciate all your efforts.
How about a co-signed letter from them?